Today we're going to take a look at the Underground Railroad so you can understand what it was and how it worked.
First, it wasn't underground, and it really wasn't a railroad. So Harriet Tubman really wasn't underground?
So what was it then? It was a secret network of homes and routes to help people who were slaves to run away and gain their freedom. According to abolitionist John Rankin, it was so called because they who took passage on it disappeared from public view as if they had gone into the ground. Since the year 1619, slavery of African people had existed in the United States, but after the Revolutionary War, some northern states voted to abolish or end slavery. Eventually, the country ended up divided between slave states and free states. Not everyone in the South agreed with slavery, and some took risks to help enslaved people run away to freedom.
People like Samuel Burns, John Brown, Frederick Douglass, William Brinkley, Levi Coffin, and Harriet Tubman. Can you think of any others?
Members of the Underground Railroad often use specific terms based on the metaphor of a railroad.
People who helped enslaved people find the railroads were agents or shepherds. The people who are running to freedom were the cargo.
Agents could have been anyone with knowledge or the workings of the Underground Railroad in their area. They would meet with enslaved people and often set up a secret meeting with a conductor, someone who would help them on their journey. Arguably the most famous person from the Underground Railroad, Harriet Tubman, was made aware of the railroad by a white woman who was believed to be a Quaker.
Hiding places were stations. People who hid the slaves in their homes were station masters.
Historically, many of the people who are credited with being station masters were white abolitionists such as Levi Coffman, John Rankin, and Thomas Garrett. And while their contributions are huge, studies have shown that members of free black communities were just as important as station masters. The difficulty has been identifying them due to the danger and secrecy of their work. A few that have been identified over the years include Samuel Green and William Brinkley, whose story has been shared on this channel.
People who help guide the cargo from station to station were conductors.
The most famous is Harriet Tubman, who returned to the South 13 times and is credited with helping conduct at least 70 people to freedom. Another well-known conductor was John P. Parker, a former slave himself who traveled across the Ohio River and helped fugitive slaves from Kentucky to escape north.
People who helped pay for the Underground Railroad were known as stockholders.
There were a number of groups of people in the North dedicated to the abolition of slavery and who helped finance the Underground Railroad. Groups such as the Vigilance Committee of the Pennsylvania Anti-Slavery Society helped fund the railroad and aided in getting runaway slaves to Canada after the passing of the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850. We know some people who helped, but are searching for many more. Helping runaway slaves was dangerous work, especially for free blacks who would go to jail and possibly even be sold into slavery if they had ever been found out.
The earliest mention of the Underground Railroad came in 1831.
When enslaved man Tice Davids escaped from Kentucky into Ohio and his owner blamed the Underground Railroad for helping Davids to freedom.
When it was around before that, knowing when it started is hard because the people on it had to work in secret.
It's likely that some who disagreed with the institution of slavery had been helping free slaves since the very beginning, but the network now known as the Underground Railroad began sometime in the late 1700s. It ran north and grew steadily until the Emancipation Proclamation was signed by President Abraham Lincoln. As many as 100,000 enslaved people may have escaped by the Underground Railroad, though we will never know an exact number for sure.
The Underground Railroad did not have a headquarters, no published guides, maps, pamphlets, or even newspaper articles.
What it did have were meeting points, secret routes, help moving to the next station, and safe houses, all of them run by abolitionist sympathizers and communicated by word of mouth, often using coded messages. Because of the danger involved, most station masters and conductors only knew of the operation they were directly involved with, rarely knowing who was involved beyond the next station.
If one person was caught and knew everything, the whole railroad could be shut down.
To better understand how it worked, let's look at the most frequent route used by legendary conductor Harriet Tubman as told to historian Wilbur Siebert. A conductor and a runaway slave, it was too dangerous for Harriet to show up on the plantation, so an agent would go to the plantation and let those looking to run away know where and when to meet Harriet.
They would usually meet in the late fall or winter on a Saturday night.
It was on that night because a slaver would not be able to report a slave missing to the newspaper until Monday. giving them a head start. One of Harriet's main routes was by way of Poplar Neck, Maryland, where her parents were. One of her first stations would often be at Samuel Green's of East Newmarket. Tubman would then follow the Choptank River into Delaware through Sandtown and find refuge at another station in nearby Willow Grove. From there, she would move on to Camden, where her helpers were William and Nathaniel Brinkley of the Brinkley Hill neighborhood and Abraham Gibbs of the Star Hill neighborhood. The men in Camden would act as stationmasters and conductors, taking Harriet and many others north past the towns of Dover and Smyrna, and most often to the free black community of Blackbird, from where she would cross the Chesapeake and Delaware Canal to get to Newcastle, then Wilmington, where Station Master Thomas Garrett would secure transportation to William Still's office or the homes of other Underground Railroad operators in the greater Philadelphia area. At William Still's office, he would interview runaways and often get word back to their loved ones of their making it to Philadelphia. He and the Vigilance Committee would also secure train tickets to get runaways to Canada after the passing of the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850. Much of what we know about the Underground Railroad today we owe to William Still, who turned his notes into the book The Underground Railroad. An important thing to remember is that the Underground Railroad only works because of the contributions of each and every person on it.
Without agents, most slaves would never have a chance of freedom.
Without station masters, there would be no safe place for runaways or cargo to stay on their route north to freedom.
Without conductors, runaways would not know where to go or how to get there safely.
Without stockholders or wealthy northern benefactors, the Underground Railroad would not have been financed.
It worked because people risked everything to help slaves get to freedom. I don't know about you, but I call those people heroes.
Be sure to keep coming back to the Kid Professor channel as we work to explore more about the Underground Railroad and to uncover heroes who have been forgotten for way too long.
Thanks for watching.